Hey, everybody, good evening, and welcome to a brand new episode of Pressing Matters. This is episode number 15. I'm your host, Daniel Torres. And after a week off, we are back. There is a lot of soccer, obviously, with this being a soccer podcast. There's a lot of soccer news from this past week that we are going to get into in this episode. I hope that everyone is doing well. Everyone's having a good week. Everyone is staying warm if you are in South Florida and obviously eastern parts of the United States. It's been very cold, very unconventional for us down here in South Florida, especially with iguanas falling out of the tree. I know that I'm definitely over this cold weather. We just had a cold front, another one come through, so we'll be back in the 40s Fahrenheit tomorrow. But without further ado, let's get into our line items that are pressing matters. And the first thing that I want to talk about today, and I wanted to lead off with this, it is the UEFA Champions League. Last week, Wednesday, January 28th, we had our last match day of the league phase for the Champions League. I want to go over those results, and I want to talk about the standings, who made it, who didn't, and then I want to talk about how the knockout playoffs will look heading into, I believe, maybe the end of this month or beginning of March. I believe I have to confirm that, and I'll confirm the dates as we go over it. But let's take a look how things shaped up on the final match day of the league phase. Obviously, for myself, it was not good. Real Madrid falling to Benfica 4-2, which was just an absolute embarrassment because the goalkeeper scored on Madrid. It was 3-2, and then the goalkeeper scored, making it 4-2. It was honestly embarrassing. Rodrigo with a red card. We just found out today that because of that red card, he has suspended 2 matches, so he will be missing the knockout playoffs, which is actually against Benfica for Real Madrid. Usually a red card is only a 1-match suspension, but there was verbal abuse coming from Rodrigo. UEFA states, so they gave him a 2-match ban. Doesn't even help that Jude Bellingham is injured, and he's going to miss a whole month, so he's going to be missing those 2 matches against Benfica. Major blow for Real Madrid. But you do gain Trent Alexander-Arnold back, Danny Carvajal, Antonio Rudiger. So we'll see how that helps them. But Benfica, literally just by the nick of their skin, they get back into the knockout playoffs, and they'll be in it. Olympiacos defeats Ajax Amsterdam 2-1. Ajax Amsterdam, honestly, has been a disappointing season in the Champions League. Arsenal 3-2 over Kairat Almaty. Arsenal has been fantastic in this year's league phase for the Champions League. They've been perfect. Sporting Lisbon's been another one of those teams that's been surprising, has been great in the Champions League. 3-2 over Athletic Bilbao. Bodo 2-1 over Atletico de Madrid. That was very surprising, and I think what we see from this new format, the league phase of the Champions League, is that we see a lot of upset and a lot of surprises, and I guess that's the way they wanted it. Obviously, I always think that they created this league phase so that it makes it harder for Real Madrid to continue winning Champions League titles, but that's just my opinion. Barcelona went down 1-0 to Copenhagen, but Copenhagen could not hold off Barcelona. Barcelona wins 4-1. Bayer Leverkusen, Xabi Alonso's old team, 3-0 over Villarreal. Then we have Inter Milan, a 2-0 victory over Borussia Dortmund. Club Brugge, 3-0 over the French team Marseille. Tottenham, the Spurs, 2-0 over Eintracht Frankfurt. Liverpool put on a thrashing on FK Qarabag, 6-0. Manchester City picked up a 2-0 victory over Galatasaray. Monaco and Juventus, they draw 0-0. Chelsea to the death, 3-2. They pull up the victory against Napoli. Bayern Munich 2-1 victory over PSV Eindhoven. Pafos, 4-1 victory over Slavia Prague. And then this one was surprising, a 1-1 draw between PSG and Newcastle United. And then the final match to close the league phase, Union SG, 1-0 victory over Italian team Atalanta, which is another surprising result. So let's break down how this works, right? So positions 1 through 8 automatically qualify for the round of 16. We will tell you those teams right now. Finishing in first is Arsenal. Finishing in second is Bayern Munich. Finishing in third is Liverpool. Finishing in fourth is Tottenham. Finishing in fifth is Barcelona. Finishing in sixth is Chelsea. Finishing in seventh is Sporting Lisbon. And finishing in eighth is Manchester City. So those 8 teams will not have to participate in the knockout playoffs and will automatically get rest and go directly to the round of 16. But then we get positions 9 through 24 will participate in the knockout playoffs. And who are those teams? We'll tell you right now. At 9, Real Madrid. At 10, Inter Milan. At 11, PSG. At 12, Newcastle United. At 13, Juventus. At 14, Atletico de Madrid. At 15, Atalanta. At 16, Bayer Leverkusen. At 17, Borussia Dortmund. At 18, Olympiacos. At 19, Club Brugge. At 20, Galatasaray. At 21, Monaco. At 22, FK Korabag. At 23, Bodo. And 24, Benfica. So those teams will be participating in the knockout playoffs. And then 25 through 36 are eliminated from the UEFA Champions League. Their campaign is done. And those teams are Marseille, Pafos, Union SG, PSV Eindhoven, Athletic Bilbao, Napoli, Copenhagen, Ajax Amsterdam, Eintracht Frankfurt, Slavia Prague, Villarreal, and Karat Almaty. So, I mean, out of those teams, I'll tell you the ones that surprise me that are eliminated from the Champions League, Marseille, of course. I will say PSV Eindhoven, Athletic Bilbao, Napoli, Ajax Amsterdam, and Villarreal. Those teams surprise me because the majority of those teams are doing well domestically in league play in their respective leagues, and they play completely different than when they do when they're playing in the Champions League. I know that the competition may be a little tougher, but yes, those teams are out, and it surprises me very much that they are out and they performed poorly. Villarreal, third place or fourth place, should I say, in La Liga, and only sitting on 1 point in the entire Champions League phase. I mean, let's take a look. I want to take a look here on who they played in the Champions League phase. So they have a 1-0 defeat to Tottenham. Then they go into October, 2-2 draw against Juventus, which that was their only point right there, was the draw against Juventus. 2-0 defeat to Manchester City. Then they have a 1-0 defeat to Pafos, which that right there, that's the disappointing result. If you're Villarreal, you're the top on the table right now, top half of the table right now, top 5 in La Liga. You shouldn't be losing to Pafos. 4-0 defeat to Borussia Dortmund. That one I can understand. Let's see here. 3-2 defeat to Copenhagen. That one's I feel like Villarreal still can win, but a little bit more, I would say, challenging. 2-1 defeat to Ajax Amsterdam. Again, very disappointing for Villarreal. Ajax Amsterdam has not been good at all this season. 3-0 defeat to Leverkusen. That makes sense. And then we're here in February. So just off of those results, it's very disappointing for Villarreal in the Champions League. And right now, where they're sitting in the table in La Liga, they could be set up to return to the Champions League next season. And if you're Villarreal, you want to avoid this disaster of a campaign in the Champions League if you stay in the top four in Spain and earn yourself a spot in next year's Champions League phase. You want to avoid, honestly, just a disappointing campaign. Only 1 point. It's ridiculous for Villarreal. Let's look at Napoli. Napoli is another one of those teams where top half of the table in Italian Serie A, but then performed not great in the Champions League. Let's take a look how they fared. So 2-0 defeat to Manchester City. Okay. They get a 2-1 victory over Sporting Lisbon. 6-2 defeat to PSV Eindhoven. That right there is the result that's disappointing. PSV Eindhoven, again, not performing too well. Napoli has way too much talent on their team to fall that bad to PSV Eindhoven. 0-0 draw to Eintracht Frankfurt. That's another one that I feel that Napoli, with how they've performed, should pick up a victory. Then, of course, they get a 2-0 victory over FK Qarabag. We move into December. 2-0 defeat to Benfica. I can't say much there. Benfica beat Real Madrid. They beat Napoli. Look, I'm a big fan of Jose Mourinho, the coach. So I think Benfica has a lot of potential. So I don't think, even though they performed poorly in the Champions League and just barely made it to the knockout playoffs, I wouldn't sleep on them. I'm not saying they're going to win it all, but I think they're not an easy team to play despite their results. And then let's see who else here for Napoli. 1-1 draw to Copenhagen. Another disappointing result. Napoli should win that. 3-2 defeat to Chelsea. Understandable. And that's where they stand. Only 8 points in their campaign in the Champions League. So same with Athletic Bilbao. Only 8 points. PSV Eindhoven, only 8 points. Let's see what went wrong for Marseille, who just missed the knockout playoffs. We're one spot away from joining the knockout playoffs. Let's see. They lose their first Champions League phase match to Real Madrid 2-1. Beat Ajax Amsterdam 4-0. Let's see. They lose to Sporting Lisbon 2-1, which I have to give credit where credit's due. Sporting Lisbon's been doing great this season, the Champions League. They've been difficult, so I have to give credit to Sporting Lisbon there. Atalanta, they lose 1-0. Valid. They beat Newcastle United 2-1. We move in December. Victory over Union SG 3-2. Moving into January. They lose to Liverpool 3-0. That's a difficult match. Then they play Club Bruges. That's a match that I think Marseille should win. They lose 3-0. And basically, that loss to Club Bruges is what got Marseille eliminated and not moving in to the knockout round. So you ask, what will be the knockout round playoffs? So we'll start. It'll be Benfica against Real Madrid. Wow, this just completely changed on me for some non-apparent reason. Let's go back here. We've got Galatasaray versus Juventus. Monaco versus PSG. Boy, that's a good one. Dortmund against Atalanta. Qarabag against Newcastle. Let's see. Bodo against Inter Milan. Olympiacos against Leverkusen. Club Bruges against Atletico de Madrid. Yeah, those are the knockout round playoffs. If you ask me, if you want my predictions of who I think is going to win, I think that Real Madrid takes Benfica and moves to the round of 16. I think Juventus takes out Galatasaray. I think PSG takes out Monaco. I think Dortmund takes out Atalanta. I think Newcastle takes out Qarabag. I think Inter Milan takes out Bodo. I think Leverkusen takes out Olympiacos. I think Atletico takes out Club Brugge. So those are the teams that I believe will be moving on to the round of 16. So for that is our topic on the Champions League. Let's move on to another pressing matter here. And it is Cristiano Ronaldo and Al Nassr. By the way, today is Cristiano Ronaldo's 41st birthday. It's also Neymar's birthday, but we're going to talk about Cristiano. So happy birthday, Cristiano Ronaldo. The guy who I consider as the GOAT and the greatest player of all time. I have my reasons, not going to go into that. But Cristiano is refusing to play for Al Nassr. There's no injury. There's no rotation. He's missed 2 matches already for Al Nassr. And this was all fueled when his former teammate at Madrid, Karim Benzema, decides to move from Al Ittihad over to Al Hilal. And something about that really irked Cristiano. And here are the reasons. It appears to be on growing frustration over Al Nassr's direction, investment, and overall ambition. He's refusing to play for Al Nassr due to concerns over how the club is being supported by the Public Investment Fund. He is believed to feel that Al Nassr are not receiving the same level of backing as some Saudi Pro League rivals, a view strengthened by the fact that only 1 signing was made during the winter window. The frustration has grown as other clubs continue to strengthen, while Al Nassr remain relatively quiet during a key stage of the season. And obviously this is concern. It's not physical. It's off-field concerns. So while Al Nassr is chasing silverware and heavily reliant on their leading scorer, obviously he's trying to reach the 1,000 goal mark. The situation is placing, growing pressure on the board at the club. Obviously, what started as a single mismatch is now becoming a pretty big situation, and it is a test of Al Nassr's long-term ambitions. So here's my opinion on this. Here's my take on this. Obviously, only Cristiano knows, I guess, the inside of the club, right? Better than anybody else, and the board and the Public Investment Fund in the Saudi Pro League. Only he really knows. Yes, it would be nice if the public would know kind of the details of what's going on, or evidence to help people better understand what's, they can see his reasoning of why he's doing this. Obviously, when you're just seeing it from the outside and there's no evidence or details, you're kind of like, oh, he's just mad, or he's just salty because, other teams are making moves and his team is not making moves. And, Al Hilal, who has had an edge over Al Nassr, now gets Karim Benzema, who he knows very well as a teammate, is going to get an edge over his club. And so, obviously, this is also not helpful to Cristiano. I'll tell you why. It's not helpful to Cristiano because, again, he wants that 1,000 goal mark. And 2, he needs to stay fresh and fit for the World Cup, which will be his last with Portugal here in the United States, Canada, Mexico. Again, my honest opinion, I can't be like there's a right or wrong in this situation. Again, I think it's a developing situation from the inside that only he knows, his management knows, the club knows, the board knows, his teammates most likely know, and the Public Investment Fund. And it all goes down to, a whole CBA bargaining collective, but also Saudi Arabia loses because it's only because of Cristiano moving to Saudi Arabia that opened the door for many big time European players to want to move to the Saudi Pro League. And so for Saudi Arabia, if Cristiano is kind of protesting and holding out, and whatever Cristiano says, obviously this is the most followed man on social media in the entire planet and with many fans. I mean, when he said to sit down with Piers Morgan about Manchester United, it exposed a lot of what was wrong with Manchester United. And so if you're Saudi Arabia, you want to get this done. You want to get it fixed because you don't want to have a situation where Cristiano is going to go to the media eventually at some point, maybe another sit down with Piers Morgan, maybe a sit down with his good friend Rio Ferdinand, who has a podcast, and explain the evidence that he has as to why he's holding out. And if something like that were to occur, when he did the sit down with Piers Morgan, it was all downhill from there with his relationship with Manchester United. And so if he does something like that, I can't see his relationship with Al Nassr going to be perfect. I could see it going downhill, and that's basically where we can maybe see Cristiano return to the Portuguese league, maybe this obviously Sporting Lisbon, where he started his career, and be there for the remaining time of his career and retire there. That could be a possibility. So if I'm Saudi Arabia, I'm doing everything to try to fix this situation, to keep Cristiano as the face of the league, to keep him happy, and just try to sort out this problem. So that's my opinion and my take on this, and we'll see where it goes. Next on Pressing Matters, United States soccer continues to grow in this country, which is great. Obviously, FIFA World Cup is upcoming. Now we had the FIFA Club World Cup last summer, and now just announced there will be soccer at the 2028 Olympics. Obviously, the Olympics are in Los Angeles, but for soccer, it will be around the United States. So almost like another World Cup, shall I say. So let's take a look, and this is men's and women's, so it's a big time thing. Let's take a look at the venues that they're going to be using for 2028 in the Olympics. So Energizer Park in St. Louis, home of MLS team St. Louis City. Etihad Park in New York, that stadium currently being built. It will be ready for 2028, but that park, Etihad Park, will be home to NYCFC, the MLS team. They currently play at Yankee Stadium. They're finally getting their own home, and it's right next to Citi Field, home of the New York Mets of the MLB. And then we go to Geodis Park in Nashville, home to Nashville SC in the MLS. They'll have games at PayPal Park in San Jose, California, home to San Jose Earthquakes MLS team. Then Scott's Miracle Grove Field in Columbus, Ohio, home to Columbus Crew of the MLS. Snapdragon Stadium in San Diego, California, home to San Diego FC of the MLS and San Diego Wave of the NWSL. And then the gold medal matches will be held at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena in Los Angeles. Obviously, no MLS team plays there. It's the Rose Bowl. Very, very big venue. So I'm assuming that they're expecting a lot of people to come out for the men's and women gold medal matches. Group stage will be between July 13th, my birthday, and July 19th, quarterfinals on July 22nd, semifinals on July 25th, bronze medal match on July 28th, and gold medal match on July 29th. That is for the women's. For the men's group stage, July 12th through July 18. Quarterfinals, July 21. Semifinals, July 24th. Bronze medal match, July 27th. And the gold medal match on July 28th. So a day before the women's gold medal match. So that is the Olympics. Our last topic on today's episode, our last pressing matter before we get into our team of the week. It's becoming, not unusual. It's weird, but it's becoming popular. Big time players are coming to the MLS. They're not joining Inter Miami or LA Galaxy, big markets, New York Red Bulls, but they're going to smaller markets. First, Timo Werner going to the San Jose Earthquakes. Who would have thought, right? For me, that's weird. And then this is the shocking one. Minnesota United is in close contention right now to finalizing a deal to bring Colombian international James Rodriguez. And now you would think that someone like James would maybe end up in LA, New York, Inter Miami, or Orlando City. But no, Minnesota United. Listen, James Rodriguez is a free agent after leaving Liga MX Club Lyon. And he's been without a club since December. And obviously, he wants to represent Colombia at this FIFA World Cup. And so he needs to get fresh. He needs to find a club to play in. Obviously, he's been jumping around clubs recently. He had gone back to Spain with Rayo Vallecano, which I was so happy about. I thought that was so cool to have James Rodriguez back in La Liga after he played for Real Madrid. It didn't work out, and he ended up in Liga MX. But now, looks like he's on his way to MLS. And, he's been with so many clubs: Real Madrid, Everton, Al Rayyan in Qatar, Olympiacos, Sao Paulo, Rayo Vallecano, and, of course, León. And so this is close. This is, from what I understand, this is a close deal between Minnesota United and James Rodriguez. I think in the coming days we could see a deal getting done. But honestly, this helps the league a whole bunch. That not everybody is going to one team. Sure, Inter Miami made some big splashes this offseason to put around Lionel Messi to help contend their MLS title. But it's great. Outside from Miami, you don't see them going to LA Galaxy. You don't see them going to New York Red Bulls. They're going to these smaller markets. And getting a big-time player like that, whether it's Timo Werner at San Jose Earthquakes or now potentially James Rodriguez at Minnesota United, and you've got Thomas Muller over at Vancouver Whitecaps, I think that helps grow the league. I think that it helps make the league even more competitive. And obviously, I think it helps in terms of putting butts in seats and maybe even expanding to play in an NFL stadium. Let's say James Rodriguez puts pen to paper against Minnesota United. If Minnesota United plays Inter Miami, you're going to need to play maybe where the Minnesota Vikings play, US Bank Stadium in downtown Minneapolis, because there's going to be a lot of traction to want to go see that match. And so I think this is great for Don Garber. I think this is great for Major League Soccer. And keep them coming, guys. More people want to join this league and follow Messi's footsteps into America, into Major League Soccer, and want to, just not make it a one-team hierarchy or just the big markets, but join the smaller markets. And a lot of times in these smaller markets in the United States, they have the most passionate, loyal soccer fans from Minnesota United, from Columbus Crew. I think that this is big time for the league. And with that, it's time to get into our team of the week. For your team of the week, FIFA created the FIFA Women's Champions Cup. It is the women's version, the equal to the men's FIFA Club World Cup tournament that they created. Obviously, for the women's, they only had 4 teams, and the final was between Arsenal and the Brazilian side, Corinthians. Obviously, Arsenal qualified through winning the Women's Champions League last season, and it was a very thrilling game. It was a very thrilling final, and at the end of the day, Arsenal defeats Corinthians 3-2. They get to add another trophy to their cabinet. Obviously, president of FIFA, Gianni Infantino, said after the game it was a historic day for women's football. And I agree. I think this is big to have this tournament for women's football, for women's soccer. And I think as time goes on, I think that they ought to expand this FIFA Women's Champions Cup to maybe as big as the men's FIFA Club World Cup and continue to invest in women's soccer. For so many years now, I think Barcelona has been the team that's been dominating women's, but we're starting to see a lot of other clubs invest into women's soccer, and it's growing and teams are becoming competitive. Same at the international level. But it's been a fantastic year for Arsenal women's. The men's are having success as well. They're playing well. So Arsenal as a club in general are having a just fantastic year. So congratulations to Arsenal for being the best women's club, not only in Europe, but in the world, for defeating Corinthians 3-2 in the final. And that is why they are our team of the week. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that has concluded our Pressing Matters episode number 15. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I thank you guys for watching, tuning in, and of course for all of our shows here on the Plug Talk Sports Network. Hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you guys next week for a brand new episode.